Hi, welcome to Filmaginations, a podcast about your favorite TV series and films. Every few weeks, I will cover a different one and take a deep dive into what happens on the screen and what my favorite moments are. Today's episode is about a 2016 American crime thriller drama series called Eyewitness. It's an adaptation of the 2014 Norwegian miniseries of the same name. The cast consists of, among others, Tyler Young, James Paxton, Julianne Nicholson, Gil Bellows, and Warren Christie. The plot is about two teenage boys who witness a murder. As they want to keep their relationship a secret, they have to keep what they witnessed a secret too. That leads to many complications and dangerous situations. They explore their feelings in a small town where everyone knows everybody. I will start with my appreciation of the music in the series. It fits the scenes just perfectly and stays with you for a long time. It simply makes the series so much better. Now, I have to say I love the consistency of the show. How each character has their own habits, how they reappear on screen, and how the way they behave makes sense each time. For example, Helen keeps listening to audiobooks on taking care of foster children, and Gabe loves his boat and being on the water. Second thing I have to make note of is the fact that I like series where everything is slow, or at least slower than in big cities. Life is calmer, and people are not in the rush all the time. Although that is only partially true in Eyewitness. The calmness intertwines with the chaos of a murder. We start the show with Philip filming Lucas jumping on his motocross. Then they move on to a cabin that belongs to Lucas's father. The feelings about to be exposed. It's worth pointing out that the boys are very different in how they behave and what is their approach to their sexuality. Philip knows he's gay, no doubt about that, whereas Lucas is about to find out he likes boys for the first time. Philip is his awakening. Living in a small city where everyone is less understanding did not give Lucas the space to even think about it before. But when he and Philip spend time together, things change. Even though Philip's lie about liking motocross comes to light during their conversation in the cabin, Lucas asks him to stay. Instinctively, Lucas knows he is attracted to Philip and wants to explore that. So after rejecting him at first, he kisses him hungrily a moment later, and there is no going back now. What makes my skin crawl is him asking Philip to keep it a secret. Well, not really asking, more like demanding Philip keeps his mouth shut. This is the first time out of many yet to come. Philip goes with it, probably because he's new to the town, he doesn't know anybody else, and he likes Lucas. The boys don't have a chance to do anything else as a car pulls up in front of the cabin. Turns out it's some random guys bringing in a kidnapped man. Lucas reacts quickly and tells Philip to get under the bed as he hides in the closet. Things develop faster than anticipated, and within a few seconds the kidnapped guy kills all three of his captors. He also notices someone under the bed and almost hurts Philip. Lucas saves his life, beating the guy from behind and getting them out of there as fast as possible. They hop on the bike and get rid of the gun in the nearby lake. Philip is against keeping it a secret, but Lucas usually gets his way, and eventually they do what he wants. I think Lucas saying, "I'm not gay like you," is iconic. He makes it clear that he doesn't want anyone to know he and Philip even talk, let alone know each other. How charming. The adrenaline is high, they went through something horrible, and I'm glad Lucas embraced Philip, as he was thinking about what could have happened if. Meanwhile, the killer in the cabin wakes up. He was unconscious, not dead as the guys thought. Now he knows for sure there are witnesses to what happened there. He stages everything to erase his presence, and this is where the murder story begins. We go from a very intense scene to a very calm one. Helen and Gabe paddling on the lake. Just sounds of water and birds singing. Beautiful. I love how calm Gabe is in general, and how much he shows Helen he loves her. He constantly steals little moments to kiss and touch her. During one of those moments, we learn that they are in the early stages of being foster parents to Philip. I like how different Helen and Gabe are with their approach to being his guardians. It nicely shows their personalities. Gabe is calm and warm, Helen is more controlling and can seem a bit cold at times. She is also a police officer, and often her approach to people is based on her difficult experiences. Gabe usually prefers on talking things through, while Helen, oftentimes, chooses to escape tough conversations. As they navigate how to take care of Philip, they learn he snuck out to see his biological mom, who is fighting drug addiction and due to that was unable to keep Philip with her. They have a very beautiful relationship though, and Philip finds comfort in being with her. Anne is very sweet with him, and she doesn't mind him being gay when he tells her about Lucas. Philip is in a difficult situation, not entirely settled at Gabe's and Helen's, but unable to stay with his mom. Lucas has his own problems too. His dad is very demanding, deeply rooted into traditions, and as Lucas assumes, not even considering his son being gay. He focuses on setting him straight and making sure Lucas pursues a career in motocross. They both haven't processed the huge loss they experienced when Lucas's mom died. You can tell Lucas is unable to process his emotions and can be very brutal towards Philip, mostly when he's acting out of fear. He really wants to keep this image of a perfect son, and that image involves him liking women. Helen starts investigating the murders. Turns out the FBI is involved and they try to push her far away from the case. But she's not about to let go. She's too excited to solve this. Alright, going back to the family, I enjoy Helen calling out Philip's bullshit whenever he's lying. She is always ready to point it out. Of course, sometimes it would be nice of her to let things go, the way Gabe does. But this adds to the interesting dynamic she has with her husband. They have their own approaches to life. Because Gabe is more gentle and patient with Philip, he gets more moments with him where he starts opening up. The problem is, Philip now has this huge secret that is weighing on him. He is a witness Helen would need to solve the case, but he promised Lucas to keep his mouth shut. And he does, but that creates a barrier between him and his foster parents. Philip is trying to go back to living his normal day-to-day. He trades a camera for his jacket with a kid at school. But what he doesn't know is, that night, the killer only saw his jacket under the bed. So by getting rid of the jacket, he both saved his life and endangered his friend's life. Philip has one thing he needs to do. Talk to Lucas. All because of what Helen said that morning. There are only 3 bodies, which means the guy Lucas hit is still alive and possibly hunting for them. This information cannot wait, so Philip approaches Lucas at school, but that will cost him a beating from his love interest. I hate how insecure Lucas gets. He can't even be seen with Philip. He punches him, trying to show other people just how much they aren't friends. It's disgusting, and that scene broke my heart a bit. I'm glad Philip pushed back though. He didn't let Lucas do whatever he wanted to him. I like how scenes jump from one story to another, always keeping us on edge. In between the usual plot, we see the killer researching kids from high schools in town. He's clearly trying to find the guys. Unfortunately, he sees Philip's jacket in one of the pictures, and now he knows where to look. Later on, he will introduce himself as Ryan, an FBI agent. We see Helen getting busy with her work partner, Tony, and I hope you like them together as much as I do. They're a good team. He's smart and funny, and also excited to investigate the murder. At some point, Philip comes by the police station, trying to reach out to Helen, wanting to be vulnerable with her, but she's busy, and kinda misses that he has something important to say. There are many moments like that, where she misses an opportunity to connect with him and it's hard to watch. However, she is trying. She wants to talk to him over dinner, and when that happens, she admits she's new to the parenting thing and she's also unsure how to adjust to this new role. It was a nice moment, but Philip already lost the courage to say what he wanted about the murder. With Helen, I have to say, as the investigation goes on, she keeps getting worse when it comes to being present. She makes it a habit to answer phone calls when other people are trying to connect with her. She misses important meetings after promising to be there, and the more it happens, the more disappointed and impatient Gabe is. There is something in Helen's past that creates this drive for work in her. She wants to keep busy, solve the case, and make things right, but also get lost in something exciting, so she doesn't have to face her demons and find purpose again. Gabe is a bit hurt that she doesn't consider the family a purpose, but at the time she needs something more. We'll find out eventually, through different scenes and moments, what happens to her and how her story with Gabe began. Let's go back to our favorite couple. I like the scene in Lucas's home when Philip comes by and gets on his bed. Lucas wants him so badly, but Philip is unsure whether he should let him do anything. As much as I love our boys being happy together, I'm glad Philip changed his mind and gave the situation a second thought. He's obviously attracted to Lucas, but at the same time, Lucas acts like a jerk towards him. Thankfully, Philip chooses to respect himself. I like the exchange during that whole scene, both going back and forth, hesitating for different reasons. Philip standing up for himself in the end was the best. Till the last moment, we didn't know what he was going to do. My heart broke for Philip when he started leaving and he was waiting for Lucas to go after him, but he didn't. Philip understood then just how little he meant to him. And of course, as we end the first episode, we see Ryan getting on the same bus as Philip. Additionally, the kid with Philip's jacket is on the bus too. Philip is not aware at the moment that the kid, Tommy, is the one in danger, not him. Philip leaves the bus in a hurry, hoping the guy didn't recognize him. Meanwhile, Ryan gets off the bus with Tommy. We jump to see Lucas's father, Bo, pushing him especially towards bird shootings, which Lucas is not in favor of, but he can't exactly tell him that. I felt it deeply when Bo said, "Why you always gotta be so different?" With scenes like that, we come to understand why Lucas acts the way he does. After Philip left the bus, he ran to Lucas to talk to him about what happened, but Helen interrupted them. She starts asking Lucas about the cabin. She's onto something. She can tell he was there just by the bike tracks left at the scene. He makes up a lie, and I loved the acting throughout the whole scene. Lucas looks really panicked. Philip looks broken and scared, and he needs comfort from Lucas so badly, but all he gets is a push to leave. In many scenes, Lucas is mean to Philip and then quickly goes to being sweet. Let's look at this scene. He pushed Philip to leave, but at the same time he said, "I fixed your flat tire." I'm glad we see moments between Gabe, Helen and Philip where it's clear that they are still adjusting to having a kid and sharing their life with a teenager. One example is a scene where Helen is a bit taken aback when Philip joins her and Gabe's card game. She's used to this being an activity just for the two of them. It shows the reality of adopting. Everything changes and it takes time to accept it. In the conversation with Gabe, she admitted to liking just us time with Gabe. She kinda misses that. We finally get a scene where Philip realizes why Ryan was not interested in him on the bus. It's all thanks to Gabe's comment on his camera. Ryan was after a jacket, so Tommy in that scenario. I love the camera move and the sound to indicate Philip's panic at the moment. He lets Lucas know of his discovery immediately. As expected, Lucas doesn't listen to Philip and makes him feel stupid for being worried about their schoolmates. He pushes Philip against the wall and makes him promise he'll keep his mouth shut. As much as I love that kiss, I don't appreciate the violence and overall situation behind it. Of course, in the end, Philip was right. Ryan kills Tommy and his girlfriend and makes it look like they overdosed on heroin. Lucas pretends nothing bad is happening and keeps hanging out with Rose, and it's clear as day he is not attracted to her, but she desperately wants him to be. And she's trying to have sex with him, which is tricky. When it comes to sex, he can no longer fool her. He makes excuses after excuses just to avoid sleeping with her. Eventually our boys get drunk, trying to tune out what's going on around them. Unfortunately, they get caught. Helen finds them and takes them to the station. This is the first time Beau, Helen, and Gabe find out that Lucas and Philip even spend time together. They are understandably upset and surprised. There is one quote I won't forget from this scene. "I'm not supposed to like you this way." Later we see Lucas being upset about how much death is surrounding him. He doesn't want to kill the turkeys to keep up the family tradition. Him and Philip go to set them free, but it's too late. I love the parallel we are given, shooting the turkeys and shooting at the cabin. With each shot, the image in Lucas's head goes back to the cabin. It's also time for Ryan to be introduced as an FBI agent. Also, he's in charge. He's not happy when he learns there is a local sheriff with a theory that somebody survived in the cabin. He doesn't want her getting involved. From what he hears, she could be a threat to him. So he cancels a meeting with Helen, having originally agreed to it. She really wants to meet him, but that will happen a bit later. No surprise Helen is not discouraged. She's not going to stop investigating. In the meantime, Gabe is having a moment with Philip when he talks about his boat, Helen, and love. Philip is surprised to learn that his foster parents will get his mom to rehab. He's confused why they would do that. He's also a bit scared to tell Gabe he's afraid of water. He makes up an excuse to not get on the boat with him. Gabe is patient as always. While Philip tries to stay calm and go on with his life, Lucas has a breakdown. He has problems with showing and living through his emotions. Everything that happened is weighing on him. Philip has an idea how to distract him. He takes him to the city with a fake ID. I like that Philip asks Lucas questions. He wants to get to know him. Truth is, he doesn't know that much about him. In hopes to get Lucas to open up to him, he shares something personal himself. He never used a condom before. This was beautifully vulnerable, however, Lucas is still closed off, and when they enter a gay club, he is so shocked and disgusted he needs to leave immediately. He truly is not comfortable with his sexuality. Philip decides to at least have a drink. Lucas has some time outside to observe gay guys just casually hugging and being open on the street. He never experienced that before. Things like that probably don't happen in Tivoli. I like the exchange Philip and Lucas have once Philip leaves the club. Lucas says he would probably tell his mom about Philip if she was alive. That was so sweet. And then Lucas kisses Philip in public, on the street. Joking, he did it as Rick, his fake identity on the ID. Philip was shocked but very happy about that. I melt every time we have a Gabe and Helen moment. He's so calm and gentle, always there to be with Helen, to listen to her, to comfort her. However, he doesn't like how her job takes her away from moments they share together. As mentioned before, she stops being present every time a text or call comes in. And she always needs to go. That annoys Gabe. Especially when she misses so many moments with Philip. Gabe is left alone to pick up Philip from his school trip, which was sad, but also what came next made me laugh out loud. The school bus left, and only Gabe and Beau were standing in the parking lot, wondering where the kids were. Love how they shot that scene. Beau coming into the frame after Gabe, and them looking at each other. Well, guess what? The boys sneak out to spend some time together. It hurt a bit when Lucas made Philip get off his bike as soon as the Tivoli sign came into sight. He's still ashamed to even know him. We slowly start finding out what Helen did that left her feeling so guilty and having to change her life. She accidentally suffocated a baby while trying to keep her quiet. She was trying to save them from someone, and if the baby cried, they both would have ended up dead. Gabe is still actively trying to bond with Philip, and he's very understanding when he discovers that some things Philip said were a lie. Gabe doesn't hold it against him. Helen, on the other hand, always checks the facts and doesn't understand the lying. It comes to a point when Gabe lies to Helen for Philip's sake, even though he said, "We don't keep secrets around here." Helen still doesn't know that Philip skipped the trip, but she finds out from Beau not long later. He thinks Philip is a bad influence on his son. When Gabe and Helen talk after the truth comes out, she says something very hurtful. It's this kid, about Philip. She was mad that Gabe lied to her, but still, and Philip heard that. She's convinced he's hiding something, and she's not wrong. After a moment of hesitation, he tells them he's gay. I like that they eventually sit down and talk properly instead of shouting. I like how he opens up to them, and how Gabe looks at Helen later, and how they talk it through. Helen finally gets to meet Ryan, and he's scared when he learns just how inquisitive and smart she is. She's asking a lot of valid questions, and he has to do everything in his power to stop her from getting the truth, all while pretending to help her. She takes him to the cabin, and he starts reliving the moment. It's all very intense for him. He shuts her down until she finds something concrete. Tony will be the one to find something very important soon. A cologne that is related to the killer they are looking for. It will later be crucial in catching Ryan. I was very happy when Rose finally started asking questions about Philip, about time. Lucas doesn't really spend time with her or talk to her. He keeps lying. It's difficult to watch her accept his behavior towards her. Philip is also onto Lucas. He calls him a homophobic bully. However, he also agrees to help Lucas film a video where he's having sex with Rose. But at least for a second, he stood up for himself. When Lucas says he likes him, Philip is gone. He is hooked once again. I have to say, I hate that Philip actually filmed them and that Lucas even had this idea. And the whole school cheering him on, come on. The only good thing that came out of this was Lucas offering Philip to teach him how to ride his bike, even though no one is allowed to ride it. Lucas is okay only for a short period of time. Soon he starts thinking about taking a shortcut and taking a pill to clear his head, instead of talking to Helen about the murders. Really glad Philip said no to giving Lucas drugs, and it was painful to hear Lucas assuming he could have access to them because of his mum. Lucas admits to Philip that he never actually had sex with Rose. And here comes the "I like you" again, and Philip forgets his morals and goes with what Lucas wants. "If you like me back, you'd help me" is such a guilt-inducing method. Lucas is usually shown as the struggling one, but Philip's situation is also difficult and complicated. His mom refused to go to rehab for now, but the question remains: if his mom gets better, will he go home or will he stay with Helen and Gabe? Eventually Philip's mom agrees to be admitted, but only after talking to Philip. In the end, Lucas brings up drugs, and Philip tells him not to mess with them again, but he never listens. He goes through his father's stuff and finds something to sell to get cash for drugs. He also uses some of the money to buy something for Philip. I love the scene with, "You like taking pictures, right?" It's Lucas's way of saying, "I like you, I care about you." That's made Philip happy, but happiness doesn't last for long. Lucas's father finds out Lucas sold an old watch to get money, and he assumes it's for drugs, which he's not wrong. Lucas denies, but Beau brings up Philip and blames him. The abortion Lucas mentions is so out of nowhere. He just keeps throwing lies everywhere. And he gets angry at Philip later when he won't give him his mom's drugs. To top it off, at some point he sends Philip a few very concerning messages, and that's it for Philip. After dropping his mom at rehab, Philip tells Helen Lucas saw what happened in the cabin. He offers to show her the gun. What he doesn't know is that Lucas already took it. While all of this is happening, Ryan keeps trying to make Helen close the investigation and frame someone for the murders. He fabricates the evidence to save his ass. As expected, Helen is nowhere near giving up on the investigation. She couldn't find the gun, but wanting to believe Philip, she starts questioning Lucas. He denies everything. He claims Philip is the one lying, and eventually Helen believes him. For a second, she stands by Philip, but that changes quickly. There is no gun or other evidence to suggest Philip might be right. Nevertheless, it would have been nice if she took her son's side instead of Lucas's. Gabe is under the impression that the case is closed, and he wants to go back to spending time with Helen. He wants her to focus on the marriage once again. So he comes up with dancing, something Helen has been avoiding for years. And she probably wouldn't have agreed this time too, but she changed her mind after talking to Philip. They had a very nice bonding scene under a tunnel. And when Helen comes back from the dance, she's very cheerful, and clearly they both had an amazing time. It's one of those cute, flirty moments between them. Lucas is mad that Philip told Helen about the cabin, so the boys are on a break from spending time together. Lucas asks Rose to film him jumping, and of course the video is not as good as Philip always makes it. Lucas is disappointed. His mood uplifts when he finds out that he's on a good path to get a sponsorship. Ryan starts digging into Helen's past, trying to use information on her to undermine her. He learns that she probably has documents that represent what happened and what she did wrong. He knows he needs to find them. He breaks into Helen's house to find anything she might have on her past, but he needs to leave quickly as he almost gets caught. Later, he breaks into the storage where he finds what he was looking for. Helen's documents from the old investigation, more specifically her old suicide letter. Soon he'll try to use it to his advantage and think about staging Helen's suicide. The situation with the missing gun has weakened the family's relationship. Now Helen and Gabe are fighting over Philip. Helen's angry that she trusted him, and many things he said, including the gun, turn out to be a lie. Gabe, on the other hand, chooses to believe Philip and see his lies as a way to bond with them. Philip is understandably heartbroken that his foster parents don't believe him anymore, and that they make him apologize to Lucas and his father. The dinner they all have is awkward and very hard on the boys. Philip bites the bullet and apologizes, even though we all know what the truth is. Lucas adds something to the pot. He lies that Philip made him steal from his dad to buy drugs. Gosh, the look on Philip's face. Philip goes with it. He gives up. He's had enough. Once Lucas and Bo leave, Philip calls social services in front of Gabe and Helen, announcing he needs to be relocated. He can't stay with them anymore. And then he leaves. After some time, Gabe and Helen start looking for him, but without success. We see Philip getting drunk and going to a party with Lucas's. He gets rejected once more, so he settles next to a car and keeps on drinking. He's openly crying. Nobody wants him. As sad as this scene was, I like the one the next morning, when Lucas takes Philip home. He's still drunk and disoriented. Probably doesn't register Lucas apologizing to him. There is something so soft about this scene. I love rewatching it. Sadly, Lucas leaves quickly before Helen or Gabe see him. When the foster parents find Philip on the porch, Helen gets a phone call and goes to work even though Gabe says he needs her, and so does Philip. Once Helen comes back, she learns Philip packed up all of his stuff. They have to meet with social services and say goodbye to Philip for good. Lucas, on the other hand, has a meeting with his sponsor. He's told to keep his grades up and his image clean, stay out of trouble, hang out with the right crowd. And that's when both state the one kid with bad influence, Philip, is no longer a problem. Lucas can't believe what he's hearing. What does that mean? Where is Philip going? His mind is racing, and after he watches the video Philip made him earlier, he makes a rapid decision. He can't let them take Philip away. We go back to Gabe and Helen preparing to take Philip back to social services. God, I love that Gabe wants to fight for Philip. Helen, on the other hand, thinks that maybe he would be better somewhere else. I love the "what is wrong with you?" from Gabe, and both of them backing away a bit in shock at each other's words. When Philip and Gabe are already in the car and Helen is walking towards it, Lucas shows up on his motocross. He brought the gun with him to clear Philip's name, and admitted to being in a cabin. Finally! I love that scene. I also love the close-ups to the faces. I just wish this scene was a bit longer and we could see what happened right after that. Instead, we jump to the next episode and we see Lucas going to the cabin with Helen. I knew he was going to panic the second Helen asked, "What were you doing before they showed up?" He tries to tell the story, including a couple of lies, to keep up the story that he was the only one there. He never mentions Philip, or them making out that night. Helen is really pushing him to get the answers, but he's really dismissive. She gives him some space, as she can see he's not going to tell her anything more. Our boys reunite, and I wish Lucas would be more apologetic and Philip more mad at him, but I guess I can leave that for my imagination. After all, I'm glad they kissed and started hanging out with each other again. I like how they hold hands by the tree. They're becoming more affectionate with each other. I like how Lucas says, "You better not leave Tivoli." He really likes Philip, even though he verbally denies it every chance he gets. Helen gets busy with work again. Gabe really wants her to apologize to Philip, and she knows she has to, but pushes that in time a bit. Gabe talks to him first, and he admits they blew it. I'm glad he's able to acknowledge their mistake. They also talk about Philip's lying. I adore Gabe's character, the way he's not afraid to open up his heart and be honest. He tells Philip to be honest with them from now on. Lucas has to identify the killer, but he chooses the wrong guy, on purpose, it seems, because the suspect he chose is dead. This means the case could be over in no time. Helen has a strong suspicion Lucas is wrong, and she doesn't want to close the case based on his choice. However, she doesn't tell Gabe about that. She's never truly honest with him when it comes to her job. She keeps him out of the loop, and he feels lost when he finds out the truth from other sources. Helen picks up Philip from school and finally apologizes to him. Later, Lucas stays at Helen and Gabe's and spends time with Philip. The barn scene is one of my favorites. How close they are, how Lucas smells Philip, how he kisses his neck and touches his arms, how comfortable he is around him. Meanwhile, Helen and Gabe have a discussion about things they hid from each other, and for the first time they really shout at each other. All while Ryan is sneaking around their property. Unfortunately, he finally learned that Lucas was an eyewitness of the cabin and is now on a mission to find him and get rid of him. Helen realizes in time that something is wrong. She chases the suspect but is unable to catch him. I love that she calls Ryan while in the woods, and as she records him a message, he's hiding very close to her behind a tree. Appreciate the irony. Now Helen is able to confirm Lucas identified the wrong suspect, and this means there is someone out there trying to get to Lucas. And Philip, but only boys know that. So Lucas gets an FBI detail for protection. And Philip is paranoid because he's left without any protection at all. Love the acting. You could even see the veins on Philip's forehead. He was really tense and panicking. One of my favorite moments was when Helen took Lucas's phone and saw the picture Philip sent him. Now she knows they are more than just friends, and Philip was not entirely honest about everything after all. Gabe and Helen's relationship is getting more and more cracks, so when Gabe finds a key hidden underneath the table, and Helen just keeps working and ignoring their life at home, he decides to check what this key is for. He finds the storage unit and the box Helen is keeping there. He opens it up, but after hesitating and realizing what he's doing, he closes it and leaves. Ryan gets back on the screen and we see him getting into Camilla's phone, and since she's Lucas's FBI detail, he will be able to track Lucas's location from now on. At some point, he also gets a visit from Helen. She wants to review some evidence with him, and with that, she almost gets herself killed. Thankfully, the evidence did not expose him, and he didn't have to get rid of her. I like the little weird moments between Helen and Ryan, the heart-to-heart conversations. They bonded despite, or maybe because, of who they are. I loved the way Helen talked about her problems and meeting Gabe. She knows she has to talk to her husband about what happened. At home, Gabe creates an opportunity for her to open up. But she gets a text, and the boys come round, and the moment is gone. We are getting to one of the most intense scenes of the series. Lucas gets a new bike from his dad and wants to try it by jumping over the lake. Unfortunately, that's what gets him exposed, and Ryan uses that moment to shoot him. Lucas lands in the water, and Philip is shocked beyond belief. He doesn't know what just happened and what to do. Philip, despite his fear of water, gets into the lake to save him. Lucas is immediately taken to the hospital. Camilla and Helen are puzzled. How did this happen? Someone compromised Lucas's location, but who? Philip is absolutely heartbroken in the hospital. He blames himself for what happened and also for messing up Gabe and Helen's relationship. Lucas might never wake up, and he can't stand that thought. Beau and Rose are by Lucas's side, and Philip really wants to be next to him too, but Beau doesn't allow it. When Gabe goes to talk to him, Rose comes up to Philip and confesses she knows they are together. I'm glad that they were able to comfort each other. Ryan is in the hospital too, which makes my skin crawl. He's able to get to Lucas's room, and I was so worried he would have a chance to finish his job. He was really close. He managed to put the poison fluid back in his room, hoping they would hook him up to it. And Helen, without knowing, fed him information about Philip being the witness. Now Ryan knows both Lucas and Philip are involved. I have to say, I think Ryan is not so good at hiding what's happening in his brain, but maybe the reason nobody ever questioned his reactions and behavior is that he's an FBI agent, a case leader, someone you can and should trust. The atmosphere is cold between Gabe and Helen. He tells her she's destroying this family, and Philip's lying again. He still hasn't told them he was in the cabin too, even though they all pretty much know about him and Lucas, but the truth will come out eventually. I love that Philip visits his mom in this difficult time. They have a very special bond. He doesn't know that, but this will be his last moment with her. Helen finally started realizing how important Gabe and Philip are to her, and that she needs to step up. She took the box from the storage and she brought it home. She sat down with Gabe to talk to him about what happened. This whole exchange was very intense, but I love the way it played out. The words they used, the panic when Helen realized someone opened the box before, and of course I adore the story of how they met. How he, without knowing, saved her life. I'm so glad Beau came over and asked Philip to visit Lucas at the hospital. When he does so, he sits really close to Lucas's body and eventually says I love you and kisses Lucas on the forehead. Of course, at this exact moment, Beau comes by and sees that. They are both taken aback and Beau leaves the hospital immediately. Brian is making plans to leave for good, but Helen can't believe he's not going to stick around to catch the killer. They have another deep conversation, and the quotes, "You can't ever outrun who you are," will stay with me forever. Lucas wakes up, and sweetly, the first person he asks for is Philip. Well, Philip is with Gabe at a gas station, upset about Bo catching him with Lucas. And then something very important happens. He spots the killer. Now the whole truth comes out. Philip was also at the cabin. Helen orders to get Lucas out of the room, saving him from the poisonous IV, unbeknownst to her. Boys lock themselves in one of the hospital rooms, hiding from the killer who is quite possibly coming. Lucas is asking about his father, but Bo is missing at the moment. He's processing his son being gay. Lucas panics that he's been outed, but I like what Philip says. The only person not being cool with them being an item is Lucas himself. We go back to Helen, and I love Julian's acting. Helen is having a breakdown because of her PTSD, and she tells the staff at the hospital to call Ryan. She trusts him. She tells him to take the boys somewhere safe. Oh, the irony. She's handing them freely to the killer. Thankfully, by sheer chance, Philip sees that Ryan is entering the hospital, and he knows they need to run. Meanwhile, Helen is still in Ryan's car, and I live for the moment when she notices the cologne, the hat, and the glasses. She connects the dots. The slow motion during that scene was on point. She quickly collects herself and goes into action. Everyone is confused. How could Ryan be the guy? But I'm glad Tony and Gabe believed her without much explanation on her part. The boys are no longer at the hospital, and we see that they were dropped off by a stranger to an unknown location. They just wanted to get away from the hospital a bit. Philip also turned off his phone so it couldn't be traced. But this also means Helen cannot track his phone and find out where they are. Since Lucas is in pain because of his wound, they can't get too far on foot. They decide to stay at a motel by the road. They had nowhere else to go. Helen, Tony, and Gabe have no idea where the boys could be, but Helen says they should try Anne's rehab. Philip usually goes there. And Gabe says, "Shit, I just told Ryan the same thing." And sure enough, Ryan can be seen visiting Philip's mom. And unfortunately, he has bad intentions with her. He kills her, staging it as an overdose, and will later lure Philip into meeting him in reality, at Philip's home. While at the motel, Philip considers turning on his phone and calling Helen, but Lucas tells him there is no point, which turns out to be a good idea. Now we can experience this beautiful scene between them. I'll start with saying the song is brilliant, and it couldn't fit the scene more. I also love Lucas's hands on Philip when they're standing, the breathy, from Lucas, when Philip takes his shirt off. Love how Philip whispers when he's talking to Lucas. He's out of breath. This time Philip ends up on Lucas, not the other way around, because Lucas is still hurt and needs to lie down. I like it this way, Philip having control. I adore the constant confirmation that what they're doing is okay, double-checking if Lucas is sure. Now hear me out. There is something so hot about the way Philip's back arches when he's sitting on Lucas. The position he's in is very sexy. And I love the giggle Lucas does. He's so happy. When they're done, Philip turns on his phone and calls Helen, and she is so relieved. She tells Philip to stay where they are. They are coming to get them. Unfortunately, in the meantime, Philip reads a message from his mom, Ryan, and immediately decides to see her. They leave the room, and now Helen cannot find them, nor Ryan. I was so content that we got to see Helen telling Camilla she is the leak, that Ryan is the guy and he used her. What's best about this scene is, quote, "He's after my kid." First time we can really feel that she truly considers Philip as her child. Sadly, the boys fell into Ryan's trap and he's got them. He gets them in the trunk of his car and puts on a mask of an FBI agent once more. They are getting ready for a drug bust. Helen questions Ryan openly in front of everyone and asks him Where are the boys? By the way, the camera perfectly focused on the trunk of Ryan's car at that moment. They are so close, but Helen has no way of knowing. Ryan speeds away, but Helen follows him. She has to get to him, no matter what. Ryan's mad. He's losing it. His plan was so close to working. He stops the car, takes Philip with him, and when Helen and Tony get there, they find Lucas in the car, unconscious and bleeding. This was a nerve-wracking moment. Philip and Ryan are nowhere to be seen. Helen knows he's got her son. She goes after him on her own. She needs to act fast. She finds them, Ryan with a gun held to Philip's back. Tyler, that plays Philip, showed the emotions so well, being scared out of his mind and dealing with the possibility of his death. But suddenly, Ryan lets him go, and he can't believe it. Ryan declares, "Couldn't do it, Helen. Not your boy." And then Helen confesses about what happened after Buffalo. Beautiful acting, beautiful scene, from beginning till the end. Ryan points a gun at Helen, but she's ready. She shoots him before he has a chance to shoot them. Philip, standing behind Helen, was so shocked and overcome with relief. After Ryan is down, Helen learns that his gun had no bullets. He did it so she could kill him. I'm pleased we saw Helen and Philip holding hands in relief as they went towards Gabe. Lucas is also going to be okay. He was taken to the hospital and his father showed up to tell him he loves him, which was very important. I wish we saw more of what happens, but regrettably we got there 1 month later after the most intense scene of the series. I like that we at least saw a bit of Philip's grief regarding his mom, and we can see how close Philip and Helen got after she saved his life. She hugs him without hesitation. We arrive at the final scene and the boys are finally openly together, at least around Gabe and Helen. And Lucas made Philip laugh despite him being sad about his mom. Watching the very last scene between the boys, I had a feeling this was more of actors and their friendship and them breaking character rather than Philip and Lucas. What do you think? At the end, I'd like to say I breathed out in relief when I felt that Helen finally found her peace and purpose in life. Thank you for that. Thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this show as much as I did and had fun remembering what happened following this episode. I will be back in a few weeks. See you then. Bye bye.